He hasn't played in the league since the 2015 preseason. He will be reunited, of course, with his old college coach, Urban Meyer, who was chatting with Chris Collinsworth on the podcast, talking about Tebow's impressive workout with Jaguars coaches.
They come in and they said, wow, this guy's ball skills, he's a great athlete. He looks like he's 18 years old, not 20, whatever he is, 33. And I said, guys, you don't understand now. This guy is, he's the most competitive maniac you're ever going to talk to. And let's give it a shot. And I have not decided if we're going to do that or not yet. I'm getting close. I got to make a decision here pretty soon.
So to be clear, what he means by that is they haven't officially signed him yet, but the overwhelming expectation is that they will. And Marcus, I have been waiting from the moment I saw this to get your take on it. And just for context, Marcus has sat next to Tim Tebow on the SEC network and the pregame show, right, for 6-7 years now. So you know him about as well as anybody here knows him. What is your perspective on all this?
Listen, man. Listen. All right, it's two parts. It's two parts to this, y'all. Like it's two parts. One is we all like a plug. We all want to have a plug. We all want to have a connect. G, you was my connect to the great restaurant in New York the first couple times I came out. You called, I got in quick. I didn't have to wait for a table. We all want a damn plug. Urban Meyer is Tim Tebow's plug to getting into the NFL. I ain't mad at him for that. Like, everybody is looking for that opportunity. We see it all the time in the NFL and any other league and corporate America, everywhere. Everybody wants to connect. All right, let's get to the football part. Man, ain't no way in hell. And listen, this is one of the situations, this is one of those things where you think about just the context of the NFL and how hard it is to play on that level. But to play on that level after being away this amount of time and never playing the position, and also you think about the other dynamic, which is the locker room. The locker room. I would tell Urban Meyer, be careful to alienate the face of your franchise, the guy that you just drafted #1 overall by bringing in Tim. Listen, this is not an indictment on Tim, but he's going to take away. He's going to be the face of that franchise if he makes the team. We all know that. And Trevor Lawrence is going to be sitting there as the #1 overall pick at the most important position in the league saying, how do I navigate this being a rookie? That would be one concern. The next concern would be that tight ends room. All of those guys that have been putting in work and trying to figure out how to make a team, and not only make a team, contribute. And if you bring Tim in, they all know it's because Urban Meyer is the head coach. And if you keep him on the 53-man roster, you could imagine the type of conversations that would go on in the locker room. I want to bring people in. Like, this is not about guys being mad at Tim Tebow for having an opportunity. This is about those players on that team feeling like somebody was given something because the head coach and Tim has a great relationship. That is the part I would be concerned about if I'm in Jacksonville and in that locker room and have to manage the climate and the temperature of that team. But everybody want a plug, G. I'm still looking for a few. If any Jordan plugs out there, holler at me.
You need a sneaker plug, you need a food plug, all those plugs. I get it.
So much interesting stuff here. And Nico, I wanted to come to you because you were making the point in our meeting this morning about just if he is out there on the field playing tight end, the way defensive players like yourself might react to that.
Listen. If it's 4th and 1 and I see Tim Tebow come in as a tight end to block me, hey, I'm eating that thing up. I'm just getting into him and I'm going. Listen, at the end of the day, a quarterback does not want to line up at tight end. And you talk about a DB or a linebacker covering him in a route. Imagine if you're a D end. Marcus, you walk up, you see Tim Tebow coming down on you. You're like, that's not gonna scare me. I'm not nervous. I'm not worried about that. That's a win. And listen, you better believe that, you're going against a tight end on a Wednesday in practice, and he's like the third string guy. Yeah, he might get you a little bit, and you're like, yeah. If it's Tim Tebow, you better make sure that quarterback never gets you. He never gets you. So every single player that goes against Tim Tebow is gonna make sure that Tim Tebow does not block them, because You are going to be judged on that. Listen, guys watch tape, they watch practice, they watch one-on-ones, and if you get blocked by Tim Tebow, it's going to be an issue. So you better believe people are going to strap up and get ready to get after Tim Tebow if he's a tight end.
That video you just saw, by the way, was Ninko sacking Tim Tebow for a 30-yard loss. Kimberly, you've lived this back in 2012.
I covered that game. I was there, yeah. Greeny, I can't believe that I'm back talking about Tebow. Like, that's how I started my career, like on the Jets beat after he's traded, and now here we are. But anybody who thinks that Urban Meyer is not in complete control of all of this he's running this show. He would not have taken this job if he didn't have full autonomy. One league source even said, this isn't as egregious as him hiring Chris Doyle, but it's still pretty bad because it doesn't make sense. Now, here's where it makes sense because of the bond, obviously. Heisman Trophy winner, Florida, national championship. It doesn't cost you anything if you sign him and you got to cut him. Okay, we didn't lose anything. I've heard everything from he will not make the roster, no way in hell, to the best he's going to do is a practice squad guy, to, hey, don't be surprised if he retires by training camp. This is all about trying to sell seats. That's what a lot of people think. And in Jacksonville, you need to drum up interest somehow.
Marcus, I got 30 seconds left. They're yours. What do you want to finish with?
Gee, listen, man. The serious part of this, man, and you think about all of the things that people have talked about. The serious part of this is the bottom line. When you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're in the business of winning games and putting the best players out there that you could possibly play with. And it ain't no way in hell, Urban Meyer, think that Tim is going to play tight end and put his team in a position to win games. Like, we laugh and we joke and we think about this, and Urban Meyer is doing what a bunch of coaches do. You don't burn bridges, you create these connections. But Tim ain't playing tight end for the.
He was limping. We got LeBron James, taking another day working his way back. What is the priority for the Lakers right now as far as getting out of the play-in tournament relative to resting those guys?
Well, I think for me, it's try to get into the six, because when you start to roll the dice and you think, well, hey, look, we've got the most talent, we've got 2 stars, we're going to be okay even in a one-and-done type format. That's a scary situation and a proposition for the Lakers when you've had 2 guys miss this much time late in the season, because you're talking about getting into potentially a one-off against a team like Golden State. If it happens that way, that is red hot, that has a guy right now that puts so much pressure on you defensively in what Steph Curry does, that in one game, one night, do you really want to bet against that guy in that kind of rhythm when you've got 2 stars coming back and trying to find their own rhythm and find their own legs and find their own efficiency? That's a scary situation. And if you lose that game, okay, you say, well, we've got another shot here to play maybe one of those 9-10 teams and still be able to salvage this and get in. If that's the case, though, again, you're talking about one night, Greeny, and that's the fascinating part about these playoffs and what they have added here and the excitement they've added and the level of drama. So if you're the Lakers, you want to try to get into that 6, because you feel like in a best-of-7 series right off the bat, even if you have a couple guys like this that play poorly maybe, or one of them has a bad shooting night, okay, you lose a game early in a series, you think over the course of 7 games, they're going to be okay. But when you start getting into these one-and-done NCAA-type situations with 2 guys that have missed this much time late in the season, that's a scary proposition.
I'm with you. It's the antithesis of what the NBA postseason usually is, and that's one of the things I personally like the most about it. That said, if AD and LeBron are healthy, and that is an enormous if right now, but if they are, then what are the Lakers in the Western Conference when the playoffs begin?
If those 2 guys are healthy and are able to survive whatever they see early, whether that means you have to win a play-in game or just to get in, I think when you look at the top of the Western Conference, you're not seeing teams up there that the Lakers are really going to fear. As good as Utah has been, as good as Phoenix has been, I don't think the Lakers are really worried about winning a best-of-7 against those teams. And again, if those series get stretched out, it buys their 2-star players more time early in the series to find their rhythm. So the answer to your question is, if those 2 guys are healthy and they're able to survive early, then the Lakers can win it all. And I think most people will expect them to be in the NBA Finals regardless of where they're coming from if both of those guys are healthy. Because remember, Greeny, home court advantage is not what it was in years past in the NBA playoffs.